Thank. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I hope you've had a great morning here so far. A great turnout. Glad to see everyone. I am Erin Parker. I'm the PANDA manager and also a Robbinsdale adult academic teacher. So I think it gives me a good viewpoint into some of these things as far as having some experience and doing the research into the topic of mental wellness, but also how do we incorporate these into the adult education classroom? And so I've had some experience with that, and so it's kind of a nice way to combine those skills, I guess you might say. And so, yes, today we're going to be talking about mental wellness. It matters. Very important. Mental health tips in the adult education classroom. Um, so I'm, of course, going to stop by the PANDA website here because it's always important to kind of share that with you. If you were in the general session at the beginning of the morning, I did talk about this a little bit, so I'm not going to spend too much time, but I would like to just go to the website real quickly to show you some resources that you will have access to if you visit our website. And most importantly here, because we will be talking about this today, is that we have the PANDAS printable mental wellness tip sheets. These are for teachers and students. I will be going through these sheets and talking about how you can incorporate the tips into your classroom. But I also wanted to show you that we have these in 10 different languages, which is pretty neat. So they are printable, they're PDFs, so you can print those out from our homepage there. I also wanted to talk about, we've got the categories here on the side. And if you scroll down to, you've got mental health here. And when we click on that, we've got our different categories, well, the category of mental health and our different areas that have resources for you within the mental health and mental wellness. And so including classroom challenges and instructional strategies and our mental health resources here. So just wanted to point those out. Go back to my presentation here and make sure we're in full screen. Okay. So our objectives today are to learn about mental health statistics in Minnesota and common mental health conditions. We're going to recognize how physical and mental health are closely related. Discover how to use PANDA's mental health tip sheet for your students and yourself. And gain concrete examples of how the tips can be incorporated into ABE classrooms. So, be good. All right, let's take a look at Minnesota here. Here are our mental health statistics in Minnesota. 1 in 5 adults are diagnosed with mental health challenges each year. 46% of adults do not seek treatment. We are 6th in the nation for lower prevalence of mental illness. That's good news, and higher rates of care. So that might be a reason for that. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the most common mental health conditions that we see. We have major depressive disorder, and that is, diagnosed by, the symptoms here would be like depressed or irritable mood for 2+ weeks, and 4+ symptoms for these ideas here, like lack of interest or motivation, changes in weight, appetite and or sleep, less energy or concentration, worthlessness, hopelessness, recurrent thoughts of death. So this is pretty intense and something that people should and seek treatment for, and sometimes do not. And we might come across that, especially in our classrooms with immigrants, where that is maybe a little taboo in their culture to get that help. Generalized anxiety disorder, the worrier. This is kind of that, it kind of peaks that survival mechanism of fight, flight, or freeze. And so they having these anxiety symptoms like the excessive worry, trouble controlling the worry, and 3+ symptoms such as irritability, muscle tension, sleep disturbance, edgy or fatigued. Fear is the driver of this. And thinking about that 90% of what we worry about never actually happens. But this is, that fear of what might happen a lot of times. And so those are the symptoms that that anxiety disorder or people with that would go through. And then we have post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. And this is a normal reaction to an abnormal event. And it can happen to anyone after suffering through a traumatic event. And it's just about how, people can heal from this, right? So who it impacts, it can be veterans, immigrants, especially from war, abuse victims. Other issues could be things like car accidents, mass shootings, natural disasters. So those are things that can happen to anyone, especially like car accidents. I know some students that have been through car accidents and they really can't drive for a long time afterwards because they're kind of reliving that situation. And so when we also have a lot of immigrants or refugees that may come from experiences in the country that they've left that were very traumatic. The trauma violates expectations and deeply held beliefs of right and wrong and safety and security. Common symptoms of PTSD are the person was exposed to a traumatic event, frequent re-experiencing of the trauma. There's avoidance of stimuli related to the trauma. Easily started, hypervigilant, persistent negative thoughts about self, others, and the world. I think it's really hard to experience the world in more of a positive way. But I'm reminded of, like, at our school sometimes when there's a fire alarm and we have some immigrants that have been through war in their countries and get really afraid and react strongly to that fire alarm because, if they're not ready for it, but even if they are, it just brings in those loud sounds and can scare people. So something to be aware of. Okay, physical health and mental health. So these are closely related, as many of us might know, right? Our bodies and minds are connected. So mental health problems can affect physical health in many ways and vice versa. Common issues are headaches, fatigue, digestive problems, insomnia, difficulty concentrating. So these are some things to keep in mind if we have students that are going through some of these physical issues, maybe it is related to some mental health issues also. So one of the ways to kind of take care of ourselves, and mental wellness might be sometimes to, be aware of this and do things that kind of can help us calm down ourselves and help us concentrate or take breaks um, in our physical health, but that to help our mental health. And we'll kind of look at some of that. Okay, so mental health resources. We have a longer list, of course, on our website, and I am also including our mental health resource. We have a PDF handout that has many of those resources on there, and that will be something that you'll have access to. But just some of the common ones that are helpful, like the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline 988, where you can text, call, or chat. And they have interpreters for 150 languages on that lifeline. So I think that's pretty amazing. Minnesota Farm and Rural Helpline. So Greater Minnesota. And then mental health crisis response teams in each county. So those are, we, have access if it's, definitely a crisis. Each county has a response team that can help with more immediate needs. All right, well, we're going to kind of look at those are, good to know about and be aware of mental health issues. But we also want to think about for even in general, our mental wellness, right? We all know, and we've gone through COVID and other things that there are things that can affect our mental health. And taking care of ourselves that way, just like we do when we have physical sickness or physical issues, we take care of ourselves. So doing that for our mental health also, right? So, we've come up at Panda with a tip sheet ways to kind of take care of yourself mentally and your mental wellness. And this is something that can be used by teachers for themselves, students. I actually do or have done this, gone over this with my students. It's just a nice reading activity. I think it's good information for them. So I'm just going to kind of go through these a little quickly, just to kind of overview this. And then we'll look at some of the ways that we can incorporate these tips into our ABE classrooms. So we have tip number 1 is talk about your feelings, right? It's important to not keep your thoughts or feelings to yourself. So, and giving students a chance to do that, making that okay, is really helpful in the classroom. Tip 2, build your support network. We all need emotional support and friendships, reaching out to family and friends, of course, and that can happen also in the classroom, right? We helping students to connect to each other and build their social network that way. Because oftentimes, especially if for immigrants, they might be very isolated or lonely if they've, coming to this country where they might not have their regular family support networks. And so meeting others is really helpful to them. And we know a lot of our students come to school not only to learn, but also for the social aspect. Tip 3, setting boundaries. We may know about that as teachers, that, sometimes it's okay to say no when we're kind of taking on too much. And that can be hard to do, but being aware of that and helping us to be okay with knowing our limitations so that we don't get overly stressed. And this, I like this little idea is that, have something, a phrase that can buy you some time to think about it, right? Like, let me check my schedule and get back to you instead of this feeling that we're always have to respond right away and maybe regret that afterwards. So, important to think about that. Give yourself some time. Tip number 4, take a break, right? We all need self-care to decompress and rejuvenate. Um, so we're going to look at that. That's something we can do, and I'm sure many of you do in your classrooms, is taking little short breaks throughout the day, whether that's going for a walk, exercise, something even that you can do as a class, um, can be really helpful. And so we'll look at some ideas for that. Quiet your mind, right? So trying meditation, maybe some deep breathing. That's something else that you can also do in your classroom, but it's good for us as teachers also. But we'll kind of look at ways to do that. Tip 6, keep a gratitude journal. This is something I've done in my classroom, and I'll kind of share some of the things I've done. I think gratitude is a great way to, or topic to write about. And so having students use gratitude in order to practice writing skills is a great way to work that into your classroom. And it can really set a good positive tone um, with students. Tip number 7, focus on what you can control, right? Put your energy in what you can control and let go of the things you cannot. We all need to remember that sometimes when we're worried about things that we can't control, especially in some of the things that are going on in maybe in politics or in place, other areas of our lives that we don't have a exact control over. What are things we can do that we do have control over in order to empower ourselves and reduce the stress in our life? Right. Writing down your worries. This is good for journaling. I've talked to students a lot about that, just getting used to maybe writing things down and journaling maybe before bed. You get it off out of your, off your mind. And whether that's worries or good things, a little bit of both can be helpful, but a way to kind of release that anxiety and improve your sleep. Tip number 9, challenge your thoughts, right? We often, that negative self-talk that we all tend to do sometimes, trying to change that and try to think of it in a more positive way, right? Sometimes we might have to ask ourselves, what proof do I have of this as being true? Why is this going through my mind? And sometimes we just ruminate on those ideas and trying to turn that into more positive self-talk. Tip 10, reduce toxic relationships. So there are some people who give us energy and some that make us feel supported, but there are others who drain that energy. So thinking about that, being aware of that, and consider limiting that time with toxic people and spending more time with those who give us positive energy and who we enjoy. So, those are good things to think about, keep in our minds. We may know these things, but sometimes need to be reminded. So of course, if mental health, if you're feeling the need for help with your mental health, of course, reach out to a professional. It is just as important as if you had a broken arm and you'd call the doctor. Mental health is just as important. All right, so I'm gonna go through a few tips for the classroom and things that I've done in my own classroom, and then I'll give you all a chance to share with each other maybe things that you are doing or have done in your classroom for promoting mental wellness. So we're going to look at I pulled out a few of the ones that I have done here. Number one, talk about your feelings. Number four, take a break. Number five, quiet your mind. Number six, keep a gratitude journal. So this just going through these ones and giving some activity suggestions. So here's talk about your feelings, right? This idea that we can help students be comfortable with that. And, how are you doing today? Kind of things. So printing out sets of emojis and kind of doing a mingle, right? How are you feeling today? And it is important to help them, give them a little time to maybe talk about why, because why can really help you feel better if someone's having a hard day. Or a mingle on what makes you feel happy and what makes you feel thankful, those kind of things. Just to kind of, try to get the positive feeling in the classroom. A class check-in, what are you thinking about today? Can be great for conversation discussions, which is always helpful. Share and describe photos. So maybe sometimes students can bring in photos that they can talk about themselves or share about their families, those kind of ideas. Here's another, fun activity that I've used in my classroom is using a scale meme. And in my classroom, I teach high flex. So it's nice to have things like this where maybe you can't always do mingles the way that you do when everyone's in person, but being able to just kind of put this up for everyone to think about, and it also always makes everyone smile a little bit. And how are you feeling today? Some days, you might feel like a one, especially before coffee, but then other days feel like a nine. But it's kind of an interesting way to do that and then have students kind of discuss, or maybe talk if they're comfortable enough to talk about why they're feeling that way. Okay, let's see. I think I just skipped the let's see. Okay. One of the other things that we can do is the take a break, right? I don't know, my little slide there went away somehow, but here's one that a brain break is a great way to do that. I, also have done yoga, 5-minute yoga in the classroom and have some resources for that I will include in the resources in the participant folder. But this comes from the book Energizing Brain Breaks by David Sladkey. And many of you might have a copy of that, or I know we were given those at some point, and PANDA does have those, and they're just these little books, but they've got some great brain breaks in here. So if anybody wants to stand up and try this, I know you don't have your cameras on, so you can kind of do it in your own space, but I do these a lot with my students. So this one is called elbow to knee tap patterns. So, you stand up and hold your ears with your hands. Also, of course, students, if they wanted to stay seated, they could do this. You're tapping your right elbow to your left knee and your left elbow to your right knee. All right, so you're kind of doing this and that, and that's good for your brain because it's kind of connecting both sides of your brain. A lot of these brain breaks are about taking the two sides of our brains and making connections. And so a lot of these brain breaks help us do that by using the different sides of our body and crossing. So then you'll be tapping each knee alternatively. So you kind of use a pattern like a 1, 1, 2. And what I find with students, this is really fun gets them up, gets them moving, gives them energy. But it's also, kind of fun because it makes you laugh because it's really sometimes hard to stick with the pattern. And so it kind of gets everybody in a good mood and kind of feel rejuvenated. And you can be creative with your patterns. You can, do like a 3-1-2, which is even trickier. So that can be tricky. But you can make them as hard or as easy as you want to, or work up to maybe ones that are a little trickier. But these are good and getting students up. Some other brain or breaks that we can take might even just be walking around the hallways of school as a group, doing some scavenger hunts to go see different parts of the school. Um, you know, all of those can be just good ways to just take a little break with students and get some energy going so they can focus again. And another one is quiet your mind. And that's a really good way to also take a break. But doing some maybe progressive muscle relaxation with your students, working, from top to bottom, sharing music, maybe really relaxing music. If you are taking a break, you can put that on during break. So it's just kind of a nice, relaxing atmosphere. Breathing exercises, some of my favorite. I think they're good things to teach to students. And then singing is a really good one. And you can access all sorts of music videos on YouTube that have the words, and students always enjoy that. And that can be really good, listening and speaking exercises also. So I thought we'd do just a little breathing exercise here. This one I really like, and you can put it up on the board, and it just kind of helps you move through. It helps to do it for 2 to 5 minutes. So I thought maybe we could do this for a few minutes here. So just be quiet and follow the. Okay, so hopefully that made people feel relaxed. Always kind of like to do that and do that in class. Students really appreciate that. As we talked about, singing is another good one. And singing actually activates the vagus nerve, which can calm the nervous system. This makes it easier for students to learn. So not only can you do songs with words and the music, students really enjoy in order to practice their, speaking skills, listening skills, but it also is really good for it can calm us down and helps us then maybe focus again. We're ready to get back to study. And then we have keep a gratitude journal. This is something I do in my class, as I mentioned, for writing. And there are different ways to do this. Just this idea of using gratitude to teach writing, practice writing. Um, some various ways to do that could be thank you notes, helping students write thank you notes, pre-teaching grammar and vocabulary. Um, I've done this in class where we all wrote a thank you note together to someone who came and spoke in our class that we wanted to thank for coming to visit us. And, so that can be a great way to do an all class activity, but also, maybe that's something students can do on their own. Thank you speeches, record and share. So that could be a speaking activity um, for students that are working on their speaking skills. And then gratitude journaling. I've done that a lot where I start the morning with having students write, or they could draw 3 things they're thankful for. And I always challenge them to maybe not do the same thing every day, but think about maybe more specific things. Um, and often then just kind of sharing those I notice and sometimes it can take a lot of time, but so maybe not every single day, but um, maybe, a few times a week, that really sets the stage for a positive class, and the students seem to really connect over that. So I also have used, you know, gratitude as a way to teach writing in more specific forms, such as, grammar, right? So in the present tense, what are you thankful for today? Makes you happy? What is something that makes you smile? Past tense, it could be what is something that made you laugh yesterday? What is one of the your memories that you are most grateful for? Future tense would be what is something you are looking forward to? What are 3 good things you hope for the future? Um, so those are kind of nice ways to practice grammar and to get students writing in those certain writing skills. Sentence structure is another skill we can teach through gratitude, such as write a compound sentence about 2 things you are thankful for. Write a complex sentence about someone you are thankful for. Sometimes using sentence frames. I am thankful for blank because blank. So helping students kind of get that structure down, but using gratitude as a way to, have content, positive content. Gratitude quotes, another great way to have, incorporate gratitude into writing. So often I'll share quotes of gratitude and ask students to write a response. So such as, when life is sweet, say thank you and celebrate. And when life is bitter, say thank you and grow. And then I might ask, write about a challenge or difficulty you have experienced that you are thankful for. Give reasons to support why you are thankful. Um, Another might be like gratitude is like a magnet. The more grateful you are, the more you will receive to be grateful for. And, do you believe this is true? Explain your answer. Also use this to do some figurative language teaching. So, um, but it's a great topic to work on, not only teaching specific writing skills, but also in the quality of the writing, but even quantity, right? So we talk a lot about that quantity and quality are both important in teaching writing and giving students a chance to do both of those. Gratitude is a great way to do that. In paragraphs and essays, as we get a little deeper into that, describe someone who fills you with gratitude. Why are you grateful for them? Describe an act of kindness you did for someone else. How did it make you feel? And on the other end of that, describe an act of kindness someone did for you. How did it make you feel? What is one of the best gifts you have received? What is one of the best gifts you have given? There's some great. And it is important to, research has shown that, when you say why you feel grateful, why does that make you feel that way, can really be good for mental wellness. Okay, so I've given you a few ideas, and with the mental wellness tip sheet, there's those, but I know many of you are doing things in your own classrooms too. So it's always nice to get a chance to share with each other about those things that we're doing, and maybe thinking about how can I incorporate some of these tips into my classroom, and talk with others about ways to do that. So we're going to get into some breakout groups, and what I'd like you to do is to share in your groups which of the suggestions would you like to try out with your students or yourself? And then also, do you have other suggestions for ways that teachers can build mental health activities into their everyday instruction? So we can get you into those groups. Marissa.
Alrighty. So again, we'll be in breakouts for 10 minutes, and you'll have a 60-second countdown so that you can wrap up your conversation and not get whisked back immediately into the main room. So don't panic when you get that. Notice that there's a minute left. That's just going to give you some time to wrap up your conversations. All right, so we should have everybody assigned, and pause the recording here.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. I hope you had some good sessions there in your breakouts. I think that's such a valuable time to share the ideas, and I know many of you have just excellent ideas. So what I'd like to do is have you share some of those ideas, and share them in the chat, and I can read out some of those ideas. If you want to, you can speak up. Turn on your camera and speak up if you'd like. But I thought maybe we could just kind of put some things in the chat, and sounds like people had a good experience. Okay, so we have I use the app Oak for meditation, breathing, and sleeping. Every morning it sends me a reminder message. Oh, that's nice. And a quote or awareness for your breathing. I think that reminder is good. Greet students as they come into class, very important. Brain break with total physical response learning through action words. Ooh, sounds interesting. I like that. My group, what today's total 5? I'm not sure what that is. What is today's total 5? Does anybody want to share that? It said Jill Sure.
Feel free to unmute and
Yeah, if
share.
you would like to share, that would be great. I'm not sure about today's total 5.
I was in that group.
Okay.
I am Marilyn Jardy speaking on Jill's behalf.
Okay. Hi, Marilyn.
So she told us about a website, and as she recalls, it's today's total 5.
Okay.
And they get things like if you were in a different place, such as a castle, a warm lake, or beach, edge of the town in a forest. Which place would you like to be and why?
Oh, nice.
And every day it's 5 different things. So
Okay.
it could be
Wow.
connected to Dr. Martin Luther King Day or National this or that day.
Oh, I
So
like that.
it's 5 different ideas every day. How does that sound?
Right. How nice is that to have different things each day? Because, it's hard to come up with those on our own every day. I like that. That's great. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm gonna look into that and add that to a resource list. I think that's excellent. All of these are great. Um, we have some other people using the scale memes.
Hi,
That
can I ask
is
a
fun.
question? I put it in
Yeah.
the chat. I was
Okay.
just wondering, this today's total 5, is that a website, an app, or what? I'm not clear.
I,
Janice,
yeah, Marilyn, go ahead.
Janice, I'm not sure. Jill was not sure herself. She's been
Okay.
getting it regularly, but she believes it's a website.
Yeah, I
So
think Laura Moyer put it in the chat.
Oh, there it is. Nice.
excellent. Thank you,
Okay,
Laura.
if you don't, yeah, if you don't mind, I'm gonna.
Actually, I don't think I did. I put
Oh.
that actually does look like a really good website that I put in the chat. But the one that I think somebody said was today's first 5. And that
Oh, okay.
edtomorrow.com. Today's first 5. There's sets for primary and there's sets for secondary. I'll put this link in chat too, and whoever did initially share it, maybe just let me know or correct me or put in the correct one.
Okay, I see that. Yeah. At tomorrow.com.
Okay.
Does that seem like the right one? I can take a look. I just think that's pretty neat.
Yeah, okay.
Today's first 5, I see. And you can pick
Yeah.
a level. I'm just kind of looking here to see if I can share this.
Yeah, there's a
Oh, yeah.
questions section, I think, in the
Yeah.
middle of that. Like it says questions, and there's like
Oh,
5
yeah.
questions.
Would you rather
Yeah.
you volunteer your time to a good cause or donate money to charity? The whole world is listening to your next sentence. What would you say?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I just pulled this up. Yes. Oh, I like that. Here's just to show, I don't know if people are opening. I can share this green, I think. I like this one. This is a really, it's always so nice to get some good, oh, no, I want this one. Okay. Can people see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yes, edtomorrow.com. So would you rather volunteer your time to a good cause or donate money? If your pet could do homework for one subject, what subject would you have them do homework for? So, oh, this is great. I love the idea of, just being able to have these questions and each day new ones that get students thinking and writing, which here's a cute one with check-ins, which pet is your spirit animal today? Mindfulness exercises. Remember how a pet enjoys the present moment, not worrying about. Very nice. I like it. So thank you for sharing that. I think that is really nice to get some good resources from others. And so let me go back to, okay. Am I back to the regular now?
Yes.
Get into my chat. This is great stuff. Thank you. And thanks for everybody for sharing. I really appreciate that. And I think everybody does get a chance to share with each other. Anything else that people can, oh yeah, and incorporating mental wellness into my health unit, breathing, breathing breaks I really like. Using music, practicing pronunciating words with multiple syllables. Oh, that's nice. Using, counting syllables as sing and clap. Some really good stuff. So, well, thank you. And I, will put a few of these things on a resource page and put it into the folder. I've also got some other things I don't have time today, but I, just some classroom yoga things that I use are just 5 minutes, standing yoga in the classroom, real easy to do. Students really love that. That can be a nice way to get those little breaks in too. Yeah, these are all great things. So thank you everybody for coming. Yeah, so, and for for sharing resources. It's been
Erin,
great.
Erin,
Yeah, any
hi.
questions?
Hi,
Yes.
it's Carla from I actually teach for the Department of Corrections. You heard me probably talking earlier,
Okay,
but
yes.
after the I was also in the I'm earning my CEUs for licensure renewal, and
Yeah.
I also was in your the suicide prevention class
Yeah.
workshop or breakout, whatever. And I went after that to the resources to download the PANDA information, and the folder was empty.
Yeah, we usually put them in right after.
Okay, I'll look
Yeah,
again because I would like these resources too, but I wondered
for
about that
sure.
if I maybe was a little too early. So,
Yeah, yeah. So I will make sure it's all in there right when we're done here. So for sure. Yeah.
okay,
And
sounds
then you'll
good.
have access to those for sure. Okay, thanks,
Okay,
Carla.
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Have a good
Any
day.
other questions? You too.
All right. Any other final questions for Erin here before we wrap it up?
And again, you can, visit the Panda website. All my contact information is there if you have questions, but I will get all of these resources into the folder right when we're done here. So,
Sounds good. Thank you.
yeah.
Just to
Thank you, everyone.
confirm really quickly, this does count
Yeah.
for the mental health license renewal requirement.
Yes, this will. And then Marissa, how do they go about doing that again?
Here, I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks so much, everybody, for being here.